That's close to me and you. Roope and Rumsey is their name. Shouting out things from the latest game. Roope and Rumsey, oh Roope and Rumsey. It's time for Roope and Rumsey.
Boys.
All right. Well, welcome to the R&R show. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the best little sports show ever. I'm your host, Michael Roope, and this is my co-host, William Rumsey.
Howdy.
Hello, William. Tonight, we'll be talking about episodes 6 and 7 of The Last Dance, the wildly popular Last Dance. Lots to unpack once again in regards to the last night's episodes. What did you think, William?
So I think us talking today, you weren't too excited about these two episodes. For me, I think these were my two favorites.
Yeah, and for
I got
whatever
very
reason,
emotional.
yeah, I didn't get as juiced about last night's episodes. I don't know what it was. Still good, but it didn't get me as excited.
It was probably a letdown because you didn't have Jordan as number one on your athlete. What you're doing, Les.
Well, still up there in the top 7. If you haven't seen that top 7 list, please check that out. Great.
But no, I just thought, obviously talking about the loss of Jordan's dad, who he revered. You could just feel, when he started talking about his dad
and getting choked up. Still choked up to this day.
You could just tell to this day it affects him.
I think he has lots of thoughts still to this day, obviously, of exactly what happened and why it happened. And boy, you talk about painting the media. Which media, it was just ruthless on him, trying to tie, right with his father's death, trying to tie in the whole gambling aspect.
It was terrible.
It was sickening, I almost think that was the start of fake news. It was. They were just throwing out just fake news left and right, and it was like, boy, they just, whatever they wanted to make up, they said about it.
And that brought, there were some pieces of that I didn't remember, and that took me back then. I think I was, what was that, 93?
Yes.
93, I believe so. I was 13, and I just, obviously Jordan was my god.
Yep.
And for that to happen to him, it was just like, that happens to superstars too.
It's crazy, just how everybody wants to, cheer on their idol, but then they want to tear them down when they get to the top.
For sure.
And boy, Jordan was a classic example of that. And then I no wonder he retired. The emotional strain on everything.
Yeah, and his dad was a great guy. The piece that they talked about, he would take a kid into the locker room to meet.
That's awesome.
Michael Jordan after every game. That was just. I bet those kids who went in there to meet him still. That's probably the.
And the funny thing is Jordan. He got it all the time, and boy, he only gets a piece. But then when his dad tells him to do something, absolutely, his dad was like, It was just, he was absolutely done anything he asked.
But talking about his retirement, I think I briefly touched on it last week when we talked on the gambling, that there were rumors that Stern forced him into retirement.
Absolutely.
Because Stern put that to rest. And I think he's put it to rest before, but
but people still want to try to intertwine the two, and it just isn't there.
And one of the sports writers, I can't remember his name, but he was like, okay, you're telling me that David Stern would take the biggest star, the biggest revenue generator in the league and shut him down for 2 years? Come on.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen. But, getting back to what I said about, Jordan really, took whatever his father said to heart, and it didn't matter what it was. But in his retirement, in the back of his head, was thinking about what his father, encouraged him to do, to follow his dream with baseball. And you know what? He ended up doing it, which, that was pretty telling for me as far as, how much his father obviously meant to him and how much he respected his thoughts.
Yeah, he talked to his dad about playing baseball, and his dad was like, do it.
Yeah.
Do it. I'm like...
Yeah, and now getting to...
But I think his son had made some good choices in life where he earned that.
Absolutely. Now, getting into the, after the retirement, and Jordan dives into his infamous baseball career, it was pretty cool how, most people have to pay their dues in the baseball, and they start out at single A. Well, they immediately jump somebody that hasn't played baseball in 10, 15 years right into double A to basically so the media, they have enough room for the media, which
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
So you're bringing a guy that is just raw as hell, and then throwing him right into double A.
Now that retirement to switch back to go win an that affected me.
Yeah,
crazy. I remember. Do you remember where you were when you first heard it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I remember waking up in the morning. I was so distraught. I can't believe my mom didn't let me stay home from school. That's how distraught. It affected me immensely because I was in the formative years. I was 13 years old, and I'll never forget on SportsCenter the morning. Yeah. Watch SportsCenter every morning and just seeing that come on. It was like a dream.
Yeah. Well, and how many networks were probably sour already, probably scheduling the Bulls in for their primetime games, and now no MJ, not nearly as marketable without MJ. But there's baseball. Getting back to that, it was crazy to think he started off with a 13-game hitting streak.
Yeah, I didn't remember that.
But then they, because they just wanted to probably go after him. But then, anybody's a major leaguer until they have to hit that breaking ball.
Oh man!
And that was it was kind of neat to see. And I did some other background work on it that they had mentioned in the video. I saw where they interviewed Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt. Okay. And he was coming right off the MVP season when Jordan became a part of the organization, and he had even said right away he knew that he wasn't making the team. Yeah. But he said he was the hardest worker in camp. I mean, and I don't think that's surprising to anybody.
And at that point in time, I think if my memory serves me, the Big Hurt was a monster in Chicago.
In that year, he followed that up with another MVP that year when Jordan came. So the Big Hurt, But I did see some other things where Terry Francona, the manager that led the Red Sox to championship, had said if Jordan would have stuck with baseball, no doubt in his mind he would have been in the major leagues.
You stole my line.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Well, these things happen when we don't have pre-production.
Yeah, they said if he had 15 at bat. But following up, doing a little research today, there was a lot of players, major league players on Twitter talking about Jordan hitting 200 in Double A right off the bat. There's we couldn't have done that. Yeah.
And that just shows you his athletic prowess. I mean, and I think he had quite a few steals, which, I 6'6",
and he jacked the bomb.
Yeah,
he did jack a bomb.
I did see that. Well, and they didn't mention this, and I do remember this from my childhood when he got into the minor leagues. Was when he got there and he's traveled at the beginning. Mm-hmm. They had him on a typical Double A rinky-dink bus, and he wasn't having that. And he bought a big old luxury liner bus. Yeah. And, because his airness wasn't going to travel Crampton style. Yeah. And I thought it was funny when they were saying, well, he loved being a part of the minor leagues because, they just treated him as just one of the guys. Well, hell, they loved him because they brought some luxury to the minor league. You don't think Bull Durham, roughing it with Jordan around for sure.
That was a cool scene where those guys, after he hit that home run, they threw beer and champagne on him after. I thought that was cool.
I mean, that probably that probably ranks up there with one of his great moments
for sure.
for him,
definitely,
at least. So.
Guaranteed. So do you? And I didn't get a. I meant to look this up today. Does he now talk to Sports Illustrated?
I don't know, but the funny
They
thing
said he's
is,
like, I was like,
well, I guarantee he doesn't, and the reason is he's notorious for holding grudges.
That's true.
And
true.
Isaiah being one, and now Charles Barkley
Yeah.
has rubbed him wrong over the past couple years, which they used to be tight. And Charles says that he doesn't think they'll ever make it because
No.
that's the type of you rub rub him wrong once, he's done with you.
And that was kind of it's been a theme through this whole Last Dance documentary, but last night they just kept hitting on folks that just pissed him off.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't let it go. LaBradford Smith.
Oh,
that poor guy. Him, B.J. Armstrong, George Karl, all those guys. And
and that goes back to him always looking for something to get him going. And he liked to try to, even if it wasn't a slight or an intended slight, he would make up the slight just to get him going, get him fired up. Not that, like Horace Grant said, not that he needed any extra fire or juice, but man, you don't need to throw flames on the fire with when it came to MJ, and he definitely, got himself going in many different ways. A couple other things that jumped out at me was one Scottie Pippen.
Oh man,
boy,
yeah.
You talk about, I think he was the Antonio Brown before Antonio Brown. The only difference was there wasn't social media as much, obviously, back then as there is today. If that stuff he pulled happened in this day and age, boy, he would be roasted like Antonio Brown.
Can we say F-bombs on
Oh, man. I don't think that's legal on the R&R show these days. But
one of my, just small things, my favorite things about that documentary, after the assistant coach went up to Phil, it said, Scotty's not going back in the game. Phil goes, F him.
Yeah.
I was like, in that moment, to say something, whether he said it or whatever, that is awesome.
Yeah. Well, and that Phil, hey, listen, you know what, Scotty, I think when he was always playing second fiddle to Jordan, that was his time, he thought was his team. But you look at his stats over he wasn't a dominant scorer because he was always playing second fiddle. But he facilitated. Exactly. And even when Jordan was out, his numbers they weren't astronaut. They were still in the same thing. So and Tony was more of a pure shooter. So I could see why Phil went to Tony and that. But that just shows you.
And he hit it.
And that just I think soured Pippen more. If Tony doesn't hit that shot, then maybe or if Tony doesn't hit the shot, maybe Pippen gets some legs and validity to his. But he's just going to be remembered as a couple of things. And I thought about this, the migraine game. I thought about that as a kid. That was very in the forefront. Well, he cashes it in during the big games. Yeah. Well, and the second one is he quit on his team. Mm-hmm. And then the third one, he takes the surgery right before the season. After remembering it and bringing those things again to light, no wonder the Bulls didn't want to renegotiate his contract. Yeah. Who wants that?
Well, and last night, I saw this on Twitter. Somebody was talking about, he was kind of talking out of both sides of his mouth about that because he's like, I really regret it, but if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I think you would change it.
Yeah. Hey,
but in his defense, he came back in that series and did one of the coolest things. That dunk on Ewing.
Yeah.
That dunk on Ewing. And then...
But he lost the series. Doesn't matter. Well, get him out of here.
That's true.
Yeah.
But then he told Spike Lee to sit his ass down.
Well, again, you lost the series. Yeah. So, that is it's not a good look for him. And I'm sure Pippen's probably... Jordan was worried about how he would come out looking in this documentary. When it first was getting ready to come out, he thought, people will change. No, my perception on Pippen's now terrible. Not Jordan. I think Jordan's coming off better because you know what? he got in people's asses.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he wanted everybody to be brought up to his level, and that Scotty Burrell scene was
Oh, man.
you know, does anybody know who Scotty Burrell is? But you know what? He was tough on him, so when come playoff time, he shows up.
And that was kind of the theme through these episodes too. Like, okay, Jordan's opponents, he broke their will, but his teammates had to deal with him every day.
Yeah. And toughened him up.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean,
these,
obviously the proof is in the pudding.
well, yeah, the Burrell, the Steve Kerr. I mean, he made those guys. You know, they might have thought he was, you know, a for lack of a better term, a prick. But you know what? All he cared about is getting those guys ready for one thing only, and that's winning a championship. And obviously, he did that.
Yeah, I mean, the Kerr scene was great.
Yeah.
Because he was like, Jordan was like, look, we won 3 championships, but it's what I built.
Yeah.
You know,
You guys,
you're going to fall in line.
Yeah. You guys are riding my coattails. You guys didn't earn this.
And then he's like, in that practice, he said Phil Jackson was calling ticky-tack fouls.
Yeah.
And then he fouled Curry. He's like, now that's a fucking foul.
Yeah, I like that.
That was great.
That was, hey,
but in Kerr's defense,
Hey.
after that happened, he punched Jordan in the chest, and then, of course, Jordan whacked him in the eye.
well, exactly. Well, yeah. Well, and to be honest with you, he was basically testing Kerr.
Mm-hmm.
You know, making sure that he knows you got to fight for everything, and that's the same way. If you remember a couple episodes when he kind of gave Pippen tough love, and then he finally said, you know, picked him up. Hey, listen, I'm going to battle with you, and then they took off. You know, and he wanted to make sure everybody was battle tested, but to know that he would be there for them, and you know what, he was. So good stuff there. Anything else that jumped out of you at you during these past 2 episodes?
Yeah, the LeBradford Smith guy, I mentioned his name earlier, when he had a great game of 37, and then Jordan got 37 in the first half. The next night to top that. What other athlete can do that?
I mean, and again, just looking for a slight. Any kind of slight. And I did like, then jumping ahead a little bit from that, LeBradford, when they met up with, Seattle, and then they talked to Jordan about the glove. Gary Payton, and instantly the glove wasn't an issue.
I had zero problems.
Yeah, zero problems with the glove. I love that.
That was a great part of that.
Yeah.
See, last night's episodes really just I love them.
Yeah,
I thought they were great. And then I said, like he said, winning and leadership have a price, and he was talking about himself. He would never ask me to do anything that I wouldn't do myself.
Absolutely.
I was like, that's great.
That's a lead. And you know what? And you kind of think about that in today's game. We talk about another GOAT quite often on this show, Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady, that he leads by example.
He puts in the work.
Exactly. He's not doing, and that's those parallels. And some people don't like, Tom Brady rides people, in practice, and you don't hear a lot of that. You hear more so like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers rubs people the wrong way. Well, you know what? Because he's expecting perfection to win championships. Yeah. And the great ones do, because they want to bring it out of you. Mm-hmm. And you know what? The ones that are just here for a paycheck, they never have any use for them. So a couple other things that, obviously jumped out at me is, when he came out of retirement, and, they were thinking about the press release. He's like, scratch all that. I just want to say, I'm back. Which is ironic enough, is somebody else said they were back today on a little quick promo.
Oh.
A 53-year-old Mike Tyson.
Oh.
Hey, at the end of it, if you guys haven't seen, check out that video of him showing his moves, and he said, I'm back, which I thought it was ironic.
That's pretty cool.
But the funny thing is when he came back, even, it shows Jordan gets nervous. He had those, and I remember that, putting on those shorts backwards.
Yeah.
I remember that actually as a youngster. And, the 45, it just never did feel right.
No, not
it
at
just
all.
didn't even look right,
Not at
feel
all.
right. And I'm glad he went back to the traditional 2-3.
Jerry Krause got a little pub in those episodes last
Yeah,
night. They started off with him. I
Well,
thought it was
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, and I like that. What did he say?
He said,
There. Go ahead.
he's talking about the backstab.
Well,
I
yeah,
can't remember.
there is no backstabbing,
Yeah.
and I did make a comment. That's right, Jerry. There was no backstabbing. You were taking a knife straight in front of him.
and for as many digs as Jordan and all those guys took at him, I thought it was kind of a subtle when he was introducing Kukoc. He said all the youngsters in Europe want to be like Tony.
Yeah,
I was like, but all right, this is a question that I would have. Do you think that was him just being a to Jordan, or do you think that was knowing how Jordan was wired? Do you think that was goading him to potentially come back?
I think he,
or both.
I don't think he was good. Well, it's hard to say. I don't think he was goading Jordan at all.
You don't think so?
I don't. But I tell you what was smart about that whole thing is, we didn't mention this, is that Reinsdorf continued to pay Jordan that $3 million salary while he was a smart move. I mean, I tell you, that probably doesn't work out if Reinsdorf puts his foot in the sand and is like, no, I'm not paying you. Smart move because I think he knew eventually.
That's a good business decision.
Great business decision. And you know what? It made him look good in the when they were asking him in that interview, well, I wanted to do the right thing because he made us all a lot of money. No shit, huh? So,
but screw Scottie Pippen. Man.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what? And I think some of the public's probably swaying towards that decision because the funny thing is I also looked up Pippen's stats after that last year with the Bulls. His stats are horrific.
Really?
Yeah, he's averaging like 8 to 12 points a game. Yeah, not good. Not a good look. So you could tell that, although great player, I mean, literally Jordan was making any of those relevant people great. And it obviously showed.
So next week, we get the Indiana Pacers, Reggie Miller. They ended with that, man. That was just like, oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yes.
What did he say? I wanted to put Michael Jordan in retirement.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for
and
him.
I wonder, when he said that, was that a now interview saying, or was that a
I think it was
back
now.
then?
It was now.
Okay. I was going to say, I mean,
now.
no way that's going to be bulletin board
he's
fodder.
not, I don't think he was
That
dumb.
dumb.
To say
Yeah, well, and Reggie was a great player, but boy, any Indiana Pacers, thinking back about those Pacer teams and, those runs that they were having, do you remember watching those games with the Indy 500?
Yeah.
They would do that. That place used to be nuts, though. So I can't wait till next week's, finale, I guess.
Yes,
yeah.
it is.
So we'll then be back on that Monday. I apologize. We don't have a microphone today, so hopefully we're coming
fault.
through. William Rumsey's fault, but that will be back on our next episode. And hopefully you guys like what we do and continue to watch, make some comments, let us know. And as always, we appreciate it. See you guys.
Thank you.